Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there you go. All right, Bailey, you're going to have to fix it because we're hearing ourselves in repeat. There we go. Welcome back in. It's another brand new edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond, welcome in. We're live from Bill Penny Toyota on a Monday, 256-576-4977. That's how you can join the program this morning. That's how you can join the show throughout the day. We've got a lot of stuff to get through. Super Bowl 58, college football, college basketball. We got everything to go through in just 2 hours. And if you were living in Kansas City and you were dialed in to the Kansas City radio network, this is what you heard last night.
And they've not had a touchdown in those circumstances. 13 seconds to go in the overtime, 22-19 San Francisco. McKinnon is in at running back, first down and goal to go. Play action fake, right side throw, touchdown! Kansas City, McCole Hardman with the catch on the right side. A 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Kansas City wins the game, 25-22. And the Chiefs Kingdom has started its own history class. Because for the first time in 6,944 days, there is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs, champions of Super Bowl 58 on the hill.
There you go. Kansas City takes Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas.
Well, there's two things in the NFL that you know without a certainty, Scott. That Pat Mahomes is clutch, he's the best player in football, and that Kyle Shanahan's going to choke in the Super Bowl. It's pretty much like death and taxes, you know. So Shanahan for the third straight time had a double-digit lead in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And basically, and then, well, I guess it was a 10-3 lead. I guess I'm giving him too much credit, but still, he gagged in the Super Bowl again. Had a fourth quarter lead for dang sure for the third straight time and couldn't close the deal. And that's why I picked Kansas City. I mean, my first thought was because I thought both defenses were good.
Right.
And I'll just say this, and it played out this way. If you watch both those teams, neither one of them has an explosive offensive weapon. Okay.
For the most part, for the first half of that, I was like, well, the rest of the country is getting to feel like what it's to watch an Iowa football game when the offense and the punt.
People like Dan Wetzel. He said this is a good game so far, and he put a picture of Ferentz up. But but I'll say this: I'm going to credit the defenses. I think both defenses were really good, but I also think when you look at the Frisco offense, they don't have an explosive weapon. McCaffrey is a hell of a player. Whew. I mean, all-around weapon. You can line him up in the slot, out wide. You can run him. Yeah. And he's a really, really good – he's the closest thing they've got. Debo wasn't completely healthy, but even he's not an explosive weapon. Your boy Kittle, one of the best tight ends in football, but he's not explosive. Right. They don't have a dude that can – Ayuk – He doesn't blow the top off of defenses. And so in Kansas City, we've already talked about that, how Kansas City's a completely different team they were 3 or 4 years ago. They don't have a speed guy. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. And they got McCole Hardman back. He made the winning catch after he was with the Jets, but he hasn't been a big play weapon. They've got a guy like Kelsey who's a Hall of Famer, had a great second half. But, again, they just don't – neither team had an explosive offensive weapon. But what Kansas City did have is a guy like Pat Mahomes who, if they continue to surround him with talent, he may make a run at being the GOAT. Right now, the GOAT is Tom Brady. We all know that, Scott. Right. He's the only one to beat Mahomes in a Super Bowl. But he's retired. So right now, the best in the game is in Kansas City. and that's why they won. Because Purdy had a nice game. I didn't think he played bad. But again, doesn't have an explosive weapon around him, and you got a head coach in Shanahan who usually finds a way to lose. And so I'm just saying, I think
Kyle Shanahan has had a double-digit lead in all 3 Super Bowls as an offensive coordinator and as a head coach.
So, I was trying to remember if he had a double-digit lead yesterday because it was 10. They were winning 3-0. And then I guess it was, and then I thought it was 7-3. Was it 10-3 or I guess it was 10-3. So it was
10-3.
So it was 10-0. So the Fool did blow another 10 point lead.
Yeah, it was 10-0. Yeah,
it was 10-0. I look, he's choked so many times.
He's 0-3 in all of those games. He's 0-3.
I know.
By the way.
He was offensive coordinator for the first one. I'll never forgive him for it. And then he and Dan Quinn, and then in the 2 Super Bowls, both against the Chiefs. Both with the 49ers, first with Garoppolo, and now with Brock Purdy, he blows these games. He's a good coach, okay? I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying in the biggest of the big games, the Super Bowl, they choke. Right now, I'll tell you what he is. He's turning into the Marv Levy of his generation, okay? Marv was a Hall of Fame coach, but he went 0-4 in the Super Bowl. And right now, Shanahan's 0-2 as a head coach, 0-3 as when you count as a coordinator.
Right.
So we'll see. But that's what he's turning into.
Well, you ready?
I mean, he's not a good coach.
No.
He is.
You ready for this, though?
He can't win the big one.
He's been outscored 29-74 in the second half of overtime, and the second half and overtimes in those 3 games. 29-74, he's been outscored.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. I just kept waiting for the other shoe to drop yesterday. I was like, they had a chance to put the game away at the end of regulation or win the game, but they ended up, of course, having to just kick a field goal. They kicked too many field goals. I mean, that's against Mahomes, that kills you.
Right.
I mean, you've got to score touchdowns and make him match that, or you got to make him at the end of the game, at the end of regulation or the overtime, have to, kick a field goal score a touchdown instead of kick field goals, because you got the field goal in your back pocket, but you need to make him have to score TDs. And if you don't, man, if he's got in the back of his pocket, okay, if we kick a field goal, we still tie this thing, you're in big trouble.
Well, Kyle Shanahan apparently said after the game that the reason why they took the ball first in overtime was because he was worried about the third quarter or whatever. If they got the ball for the third time during that overtime session, what their defense would be like and everything else. And it was like, well, why are you worried about the third possession, not the first possession and trying to stop
win the game right away, bro.
Yeah. Anyway.
And they got a big holding penalty because it looked like they had the Chiefs stopped, and they got a big holding penalty. But it was a good call. Okay.
No, it was. I mean,
and that allowed the Chiefs to continue their drive.
All right, for the Kansas City Chiefs, the second Super Bowl ever to go to overtime. They become the first team to repeat as Super Bowl champions since the 03-04 New England Patriots. They recorded the 7th comeback of 10 or more points in a Super Bowl, including the team's last 2 Super Bowl victories. So they're being down by double digits for Kansas City in the Super Bowl is a good thing. That means they come back and win.
Let me correct myself, too. It was a holding penalty, actually, against Kansas City against Frisco.
That kept the drive alive.
Yeah, but still, who cares?
Yes.
They still gagged.
Mahomes named MVP, third player to win 3 Super Bowl MVP awards. He joins Tom Brady, who has 5, by the way.
Wow, 5, yeah.
Joe Montana has 3.
3, and he had 4 championships.
Yep. He's the third player to be named Super Bowl MVP in consecutive seasons. He joins Bart Starr and Terry Bradshaw with that honor.
Wow.
And he's the 5th quarterback with at least 3 Super Bowl titles. He joins Brady with 7, Bradshaw with 4, Joe Montana with 4, and Troy Aikman with 3. And it's the 33rd time, by the way, that a quarterback has been named Super Bowl MVP.
I believe he's 28 years old.
And he's 28 years old. His 15th career postseason win at the age of 28. Tom Brady has 35. Joe Montana was 16 for the most postseason wins by a quarterback all time. So Joe Montana, think about how good and the Hall of Fame career Joe Montana had. He had 16 postseason wins.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes has 15 at the age of 28, and everybody said, well, he can't do it on the road because he's never won a road playoff game, and he did it this year twice.
Well, here's the thing. Andy Reid was already a great coach. He came close to winning one with the Eagles, with Donovan McNabb, T.O., and those guys, and then he just couldn't quite get over the hump.
Right.
And then he gets Patrick Mahomes, and that's where you got to see the greatness of Mahomes, because the Chiefs hadn't won it since Lynn Dawson, okay? And really had only come close to getting to the Super Bowl a couple times under Marty Schottenheimer.
Right.
But they never got to the Super Bowl. That shows the greatness of Patrick Mahomes to me. I mean, just like Tom Brady, because the Patriots had never been a championship organization, never won a Super Bowl. They'd been smashed, by the '85 Chicago Bears, the only thing you remember.
Man. I remember that game.
Yeah. And speaking of that,
New Orleans.
Because we know what he's going through health-wise, but shout out to Mongo McMichael for making the Super Bowl, making the Hall of Fame. He got overshadowed by a lot of great players. I'll still say, and you're from that part of the country,
yep,
I still think, for one year, that's the greatest defense in the NFL history. Because that Bears defense,
monsters of the Midway.
They went 15-1. Their only loss was at Miami in a shootout,
and a Monday night game, by the way.
Yeah. And they never lost another game. Their offense was pedestrian, let's just say. Okay?
Jim McMahon at quarterback, Walter Payton running back.
Throwing deep to Willie Gault. But they were completely dominant. And you look at what they did in the Super Bowl in New Orleans against that freaking, that Cinderella story from the New England Patriots. They just, that
was a Buddy Ryan defense, by the way.
That's the first Super Bowl I remember just watching. Yeah. And they just absolutely mauled the Patriots. I mean, it was unreal. And, of course, you know what happened after. Buddy Ryan leaves. He goes to the Eagles. The team starts disintegrating. But for 1 year, that was as dominant a team and dominant a defense.
I agree.
I mean, that's just, you can't, I don't ever remember a defense being that good. I mean, I guess the closest was maybe the Ravens when Dilfer quarterbacked them to the Super Bowl. That's probably the second most dominant I remember. Okay.
We have a poll question up there on our Twitter page this morning. We have not done a poll question in a long time, but it's just kind of curious. It's a curious poll question. Which game did you pay attention to more this year? The College Football National Championship, Super Bowl, or equally the same? Just threw one out there just to see what everybody. Right now, 43% say Super Bowl 58, 33% say the College Football National Championship, and 24% said equally the same.
Well, I did vote in this poll just a second ago. I do want to
just threw it out there. Just threw it out there to see.
I said equally the same.
Yeah,
because Alabama wasn't in it, but I did watch Michigan and Washington.
Right, just curious.
And I did watch the Super Bowl. Okay, because I really felt like it was going to be a good game.
Yeah.
Okay. I just felt like it was 4 years ago, and I just felt like it was two evenly matched teams, and I wasn't shocked it went into overtime. So I just wanted to see how Mahomes would win the game,
right?
Because I just felt like Mahomes would do it, and he did. And so
I thought you would just be waiting for the Kyle Shanahan breakdown.
Yeah,
when it was going to happen.
Much I was. I had it typed. I mean, I was like, death taxes, and he's going to gag. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just.
It was going to happen.
I mean, I was messaging with a friend of mine. She lives in Georgia. We're both Falcons fans.
Yeah.
Or at least we were then, and she still is. And I was just like, I'm never going to get over it. I was like, I'll never forget. Storming downstairs and.
Come on, you got to forgive and forget.
And then, my parents were home that weekend
right.
at the lake, and my mother's like, "Hey, why are you getting so mad?" And I was just like, I said, I usually don't give a rat's, about the Super Bowl, but I was like, come on. I was like, the Falcons had it. It was 28-3. Julio had a Super Bowl. He just made one of the greatest catches in history, and these clowns still can't win it. You had Matt Bryant, one of the great kickers in the NFL. If you kick a field goal and go up 11, even the great Tom Brady's not going to be able to come back and win this game, but you gag. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, oh. And so ever since then, I just have not. With Kyle Shanahan, I'm like waiting for the other shoe to drop every time. And again, he's a good coach, but Lord.
All right, let's get out to the phone lines real fast. Let's squeeze this phone call in real fast. Wolverine Dan is with us. Good morning, sir.
Well, the Chicago Bears that year had unbelievably great fullback. Wasn't it the Perry, the fullback? He's the biggest fullback of all time.
Yeah, they used William Perry.
Yeah. Well, he was the defensive guy, but he
was
moved
a rookie.
him.
He was a defensive tackle that they used, and they also had Matt Suey. Don't forget Matt Suey.
And don't forget, I mean, Refrigerator Perry is the one that kept Walter Payton from having a Super Bowl touchdown. Walter Payton does not have a Super Bowl touchdown because they gave it.
I love Mike Ditka, but how do you not give that ball to Walter Payton and let Perry just block for him?
Yes. William Perry has the touchdown, not Walter Payton. Yep.
Then they still would have given William Perry a freaking Big Mac commercial for crying out loud.
Right.
I know about great running backs, and I get in Super Bowls. I've had one, trust me. Now.
Oh yeah, Barry Sanders. Yeah, we know. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's talk about the game. First off, your poll. I'm all day long. Michigan. It's all day long.
Of course, we would expect that. Dan.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well,
now let me ask one question before you say something else. Now, if Detroit had finished it and made the Super Bowl, would you have said equal? There's a long pause coming here.
You know what? No. I still would think Michigan would be better.
Okay.
You would take the college football one. Okay.
Even if Detroit had won the Super Bowl.
The reason why? Because we beat you guys.
Okay.
I own you this year.
The reason why. I'm not going to sit there and rebuttal that. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's
where you're
the
living.
Why.
Yeah.
But if the Lions would have won it, the Super Bowl, of course, it would have been the Lions. But let's talk about the Super Bowl real quick. Not a lot of time. First off, let's do this. Kelsey. Don't sing Viva Las Vegas. Jim Nantz, please stop him halfway through. I just about broke my ears. And then I took the liberty of last night after I was counting my, very lucrative football game for me. So, but besides that, let's talk about how many times I saw that girl segue to her every time he touched the ball or anything had to do with anything. 17 times. I counted.
You counted? You counted.
17 times. 17 times.
I watched the game. But they didn't mention it. They would just show it, but they never really mentioned it as much. They never said, Taylor Swift a bunch. Yeah, they did the cutaways quite a bit. But they never, mentioned her.
No. Well, two more quick questions, and I'll get off the air. The first one, there's a lot of great quarterbacks that play pro football. The question is Mahomes the second greatest quarterback right now, or is there still somebody else above him? And the second thing is Kelsey, you said something about three-peat. No, Kelsey, it goes through the Motor City. You're not going to get it next year because we beat your butt this year. And we're going to take you next year because, Drew, I was listening to your analogy of the game. They said that you said San Francisco didn't have the big fast players, the big change game players. We do. We've got two Bama guys, Gibbs and Williams. They both could change the face of the game, and they're both extremely fast. Don't you agree?
Well, yeah. I mean, Detroit's going to be on the short list of teams to look for. I mean, we'll see because it's always tough in the NFL to sustain because of guys that leave via free agency or, trades, contracts, whatever. Andy Reid, even though I don't expect Coach Reid to retire.
He says he's coming back.
Yeah, but again, I mean, certainly Detroit's going to be on the short list. But it's also about learning how to win, and they got to, Coach Campbell, who I like a lot, he's just got to learn from his mistakes. I think he took too many chances because I think they should have beat San Francisco. But again, it's a learning curve. They've gotten better every year, and they'll be amongst a handful of teams, to me, that have a chance to win it.
And this was not Kansas City's greatest year.
And
they were very vulnerable.
Detroit has got to get better in two areas. They got to add a little more pass rush, and they got to get better in the secondary at the corner spot. They got to get better in the back end.
Well, you can't. I mean, this wasn't Kansas City's greatest team, yet they're still Super Bowl champions. Yeah. It just tells you
but they got
how
chance,
tough
man.
they are.
They're young and they're hungry, and if they have another good draft, they've been drafting really and maybe a key free agent, acquisition, then Detroit's got a shot.
Agree, fellas. Hey, thanks for putting the show on every day. But I do listen to it quite a bit, and I appreciate it.
All right, thank
you,
you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, let's get a break in. When we come back, the poll's kind of tightening up a little bit.
Is it?
39% say Super Bowl 58. 32% now say college football national championship is what they paid attention to the most. 29 is equally the same.
I think it would be a runaway train if Alabama had beaten Michigan like they should have.
It would have been, but that's why it was interesting to see.
And then won it all, or played in it and probably won it all. Then it'd be a runaway train. But, yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
It's interesting to see now without Alabama in there or someone in there. I mean,
and I understand Dan, saying the Michigan right now, they won, and they beat Alabama in the semifinals. But he did admit at the end, though, if Detroit had been in the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, he's going to pick the Super Bowl.
Right.
What you got to do is say equal. I mean,
that would have been equal. I would have watched them equal. I would have been equally the same.
Michigan probably would have ceased to exist.
Oh, it would have
both won.
It would have crumbled into Lake Michigan.
I mean, good Lord. Remember that show with the pond show in Detroit?
Oh, yes. Oh, I like that show. That show was good.
That show was nuts.
That was good. Staged in hell, but it was good.
Oh, it was.
Let's get a break in at 7:21. It's Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Sounds like we haven't picked up anything new accident-wise. Had a couple 3,000 block of Ivy near Triana Boulevard with an overturned stolen vehicle, and in Decatur Beltline and 8th. Both of those should be about ready to move, maybe out of the way already. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Eck in the 72 and Jeff, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
These days, saving time is important, and saving money is even more so. That's where Eagle Masonry and Insulation comes in. Over the years, Eagle has expanded their services to meet the needs of folks like you in our area. If your home needs updating or you have some projects that you just haven't gotten to, Eagle can help. They install shower doors, mirrors, shelving, blinds, bath hardware, and lots more. Call Eagle Masonry and Insulation today at 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time, and Eagle saves you money.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
The best place to get 50s diner-style homemade delectables is Bubby's Diner. Located at 8412 Whitesburg Drive Southeast, try their all-new expanded breakfast menu with homemade waffles, omelets, and shrimp and grits. With 3 generations of experience, Chris Bubby Belcher has the best burgers in town. Don't forget to leave without a homemade pie or a hand-spun milkshake. This Friday, get a $50 gift certificate for $25. Bubby's Diner, home of the donut burger.
Love sports? Set a course for adventure. Come aboard. We're expecting you. Come aboard. We're expecting you. The Love Boat. Sorry. Come aboard. We're expecting you. 97.7 ESPN. The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back into the show. 256-576-4977. That's how you can be a part of the program this morning. We have got SEC college football breakdown. We got some news and notes there. We've got college basketball we've got to get through today. We got to hear from Nate Oates. We got to hear from Bruce Pearl after a crazy weekend of college basketball.
Yeah, crazy.
We got to get your phone calls as well. 256-576-4977, and we'll start there with LSU Lou. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Okay. He dropped. Okay, well, there we go. Let's visit then with some SEC college basketball. We start you off with what happened in Baton Rouge over the weekend. Here is Alabama head coach Nate Oates.
Yeah, I didn't realize that we took 81 shots. It's a lot of shots. You know, when you don't turn the ball over and you get 19 old boards, you're going to have a lot of shot attempts. You know, so we end up with, now they had more free throw attempts, but it wasn't by a huge margin. You know, they only outscored us by 4 at the line. So to have 21 more field goal attempts, it's going to be hard for them to win the game doing that. So I thought we did a really good job on the offensive glass. I mean, you kind of look through this, like Reitzel's a guard, ends up with 5 old boards. You know, Nick Pringle had 4 old boards in 15 and a half minutes. You know, I thought Pringle's energy and the minutes he gave us was huge. And before the game, everybody was like, man, Pringle's ready to go. So I told the guys after the game, like, there's a way you get yourself mentally ready to play. And Nick was ready to play before the game. Like, it's an 11 o'clock tip. You got to get yourself mentally ready to go. Some of our guys did not do a great job of that. Nick obviously did. So hopefully he can use this as a springboard to really start playing some great basketball for us. But you know, we have 5 guys in double figures and 19 boards. You know, I thought the ball was moving well. We were getting on the glass, taking care of it. It was one of our better offense. Our analytics guys had us at a 1.43 on offense. That's pretty elite.
Alabama head coach Nate Oates after the Tides win on the road over LSU.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much almost a carbon copy of the one at home.
Right.
And I'm talking about in Tuscaloosa. One was 109-88. I believe this one ended up being 109-92. And so Alabama both times took care of the basketball, didn't turn it over a ton. LSU takes a lot of chances on defense. Early on in the second game, and this one in Baton Rouge in the PMAC, they were sticky on defense, and they were trying to take away the shooters and make Alabama drive the ball. But Alabama was able to, move the basketball, attack. They were still able to get downhill, and they were able to make enough threes in the first half with good ball movement where the ball wasn't sticking to get into a rhythm and then end up, with a 49-46 halftime lead. It was I'm telling you, Scott, this game from the tip was just pedal to the metal.
Right.
You could just tell by the flow when you're watching the flow of a game, like, okay, I was telling some folks, some of my friends and people, I was like, they're going to have to score 110, maybe 120.
To win this game.
Yeah. I said, there ain't going to be – this is like a Lowell Marymount game. There ain't a whole lot of defense going on.
Not early on.
I was like –
there was a lot of open shooters on both sides.
LSU was hitting, and I'm like, in a game, you never know when a team's going to get hot and start hitting, and LSU came out. They were in a rhythm offensively, and I'm like, it's just going to be one of these games where you got to find a way to get a few stops, you know what I'm saying, and survive it. And LSU, to their credit, they hung in there. They got a small lead. I think it was 73-72. And then Alabama went on a quick 4-0 run to go up 76, to 73. And then I'm just telling you, it was just like an avalanche the rest of the game. Alabama made 5 threes, and they got 4 or 5 stops. It was like an NBA game. They got 4 or 5 stops, and they were able to separate, and they were able to beat LSU, who's just not a very good defense team. Now, Alabama's not either, okay? But I think Nate Oates made a great point. The MVP of this game was Nick Pringle. He went 8 of 9 from the floor. He got suspended. We know that for the second time. He had almost fallen out of the rotation, but he played like a man possessed in this game.
He had a good week of practice, Coach said. Mentally,
it was good too, because just about a week ago they had beaten Mississippi State at home, and Mohamed Wagee had some bright moments, and Mohamed Diobate had 14. Stevenson had 14. Wagee didn't even play in this game, and then Stevenson was not great, and neither was Diobate. So they needed everything they got out of Nick Pringle and inside, and they got it. And then Reitzel had another really nice game shooting the basketball. I've told you about Estrada. Estrada wasn't as good as he was in some other games, but was really solid. And then Death Taxes and Sears getting 20-plus. So he was his usual self, and Alabama was able to escape with this win. And it's a big one because they get a week off for the most part because they're not playing again until Saturday against Texas A&M. And you already mentioned the nuttiness.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a little bit. For Alabama, the 100-point game was their 7th of the year. That's a school record, by the way.
Right.
And the second most in the SEC in the last 30 years. Alabama's 218 points combined. You mentioned the LSU, two scores, against LSU. That is the most in any two-game stretch against the Tigers in series history. And Alabama has also made a combined 33 three-pointers in 78 attempts against the Tigers.
Yeah.
The 18 three-pointers that they made, that was the second most in a game by Alabama this season. They had 19 against Purdue, by the way, and Eastern Kentucky. And that Eastern Kentucky win does not look, at the beginning of the year, did not really, kind of say, okay, it's just an Eastern Kentucky win. But Eastern Kentucky in the A-Sun, by the way, is playing very, very well. Very well. We have got to get a break in. When we come back, we will hear from Bruce Pearl. The Auburn Tigers traveled to Florida. Not so good road trip there.
That was a trap game.
Yeah, we knew it. And then we talked about Texas A&M. And boy, did Buzz Williams.
And I'm sure Jeff didn't watch either.
Well, no, because Gonzaga was whooping that ass on. So we got to get a break in. We'll talk more college basketball next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. Scattered showers and a few thunderstorms will continue throughout this Monday. High temperatures expected to top out in the mid to upper 60s for the afternoon. We could also see gusty winds as high as 30 miles per hour. Heading into your Monday night, a few scattered showers still going to be possible. We'll sit under mostly cloudy sky. Low temperatures falling into the upper 30s. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Picked up a wreck in Morgan County. This one's on West Point Road near Goodson Lane. It's coming in as a no injury, and they're calling for Himsey on Ivy for a dog bite. So apparently they've caught the driver that ran away from that overturned stolen vehicle. D&L Refrigeration repairs heating and air conditioning units for homes and businesses. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Eck in the Jordan Lane Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at GenSuperstore.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, "If you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself."
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
From Coleman to Fayetteville and all points in between.
Son, pull the hammer back. Smokey's coming at you in a plain white wrapper.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond. We're live from Bill Penny Toyota, sitting out here in the service department Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They can take care of your vehicle's needs. The Auburn Tigers on the road Saturday taking on the Florida Gators. Here was Bruce Pearl after the contest.
This was a game that I felt like if we could be close, that maybe there was some more pressure on Florida if they felt like they needed to win this game. Obviously, the prize on our head is huge. Coming in with the math we come in, I don't even know where we are in the net or whatever, but it's a big win and a big number for Florida, kind of getting them in a great position. They play with great confidence. I knew they'd start well both halves. I just didn't think that it would get away.
Well, they wanted to play a commercial there. But Bruce Pearl, I mean, and he was right. I mean, Florida came out, started well in both halves, and college coaches will tell you the first 5 minutes of the game, first 5 minutes of the second half are always key. You want to be playing well. You want good momentum in those first 5 minutes. Florida excelled at both halves, the start of the first and the start of the second half. And Auburn just looked flat, and Florida played with a lot of emotion.
I watched the beginning of it because I just wanted to see how Auburn played, because they played at a fever pitch against Alabama.
Yes.
They whacked Alabama 99-81. They looked like the best team in the SEC.
They looked tired.
But it was 9-0. I mean, Florida just came out and blew by them defensively. And then it was 11-2. I mean, it was just pretty much, I thought Auburn dug a hole they couldn't dig out of. They made a little bit of a run, but they never really could, I felt like, threaten the Gators even after that hole they dug.
Yeah.
And I didn't think they had the energy. And then Florida's a bigger team. They did a good job on Broome, making them work for everything.
And Bruce Pearl didn't make an excuse. And he said this isn't an excuse. He said his team didn't play well, and there were a lot of ways. They didn't force turnovers. They didn't they didn't do a lot of things right in this ball game. But he did come up with something, and he said that the SEC right now, Florida had a bye week last week. Florida was not playing at all last week.
At all, yeah.
Auburn played on, Wednesday, and then turned around and traveled on Saturday, or Friday, I should say. So they didn't really practice a lot on Thursday because they were resting from Wednesday. They practiced for Florida on Friday, left Friday afternoon, or flew down there, played the game on Saturday, and flew back. He said that. He brought up an interesting point. He said maybe if a team is off for an entire week, they should have to go on the road after that week off for that first game, not be at home, just to give the team that played on a Wednesday maybe the day that they don't have to travel.
Yeah.
And he didn't use it as an excuse.
Right.
He said that, maybe this is something that the league should look into. And then he said it's not the reason they lost. He said we didn't play well enough in other areas to win the game. He said, but that's something they should look at.
Well, it probably is. It's probably a good point by Bruce Pearl. I mean, because you're putting some teams at a disadvantage. But I think the couple things, that Florida did was, again, they contained Jonai. But
yes.
The X factor for Auburn, I'm telling you, is Jalen Williams. And he's the most underrated player on their team, and he went 3 of 10 with 6 points.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
He didn't play well when Alabama beat him in Tuscaloosa. Now, when they played in in Auburn, he had 26. He was unreal. And so, if Jalen Williams can get it going with Jonai, they're very, very tough to beat. And so I thought the Gators did a good job of defending Auburn's interior. And Auburn is a streaky team from the standpoint of three-point shooting. Sometimes they shoot it well. Other times they don't. Other times, I think the one thing with this Auburn team, I think they have as good a front line when you're talking about Jalen Williams, Jonai Broome, Dylan Cardwell, those kind of guys. Even Chaney. I thought Chaney did some good things on Saturday. They have a good front line, but their guard play is spotty.
Right.
Because KD Johnson, his whole career has been, hit or miss. And then, they've got I thought Denver Jones he was efficient. He had 10, and Denver knows his role, but Trey Donaldson and Aiden Holloway, I didn't think they were very good. Holloway gave you nothing. He gave you one of those lines, what do I call it? A dead man could give me 0. Okay? He went 0 for 5 from the field. Trey Donaldson went 2 for 5 with 4 points. They need more out of that combination at point guard if Auburn is going to be a second weekend team in the NCAA tournament.
All right, so that was Auburn and Alabama recaps. What about the rest of the league this weekend? Boy, oh boy. Tennessee found out just how difficult life on the road can be as they get throttled 85-69.
A&M Florida too, man. A&M's, I'm telling you, Alabama better be ready. I know it's going to be at home, but they better be ready coming up, getting this time off on Saturday at 11 a.m. in the morning, because I'm telling you, Buzz Williams is going to have some coffee. So are his players. They're going to be ready to go. You better get ready to get punched, because I'm just telling you, because A&M's a difficult preparation, and they're physical in the way they play. And with Booch Radford and Wayne Davis and all those guys, that way, David, you better be ready.
Well, what happened? What has happened to Georgia and Mike Wright and that ball club there? Mike White. They were off to a great start. And they got bumped by Ernest T. Bass this weekend, 78-75. Arkansas at home prevails over Georgia. That is now 3-7 for Arkansas. Georgia 4-7. What has happened to the Bulldogs?
Well, I just think they've hit a difficult portion of their schedule. They've had trouble finishing. They were able to escape at home against LSU with a late putback. But I think, look, man, Mike White's trying to build a program there. I do think they've taken steps forward this year, but they're still not talented enough.
Right.
I don't think. And they can't finish. I think that's one of the biggest things you have to learn how to do as a program is learn how to finish games. And they're having trouble finishing close games. They had a chance to beat Arkansas, but they couldn't get it done. They don't have a good enough team. Look, man, everybody's separated themselves, Scott. This is what they've done. They have separated themselves right now. When you look at the standings of the SEC, right now Alabama is by themselves, but you know that, really your top 5 or 6. South Carolina is tied with Alabama, but Alabama has that tiebreaker.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And now I'm fascinated to see how this game goes on Wednesday. Auburn has to pick up the pieces because they know they didn't play well against the Gators, but they're going to be back in Neville Arena where they have the best home court advantage in the Southeastern Conference, and they're playing South Kakalaki. Okay, and South Carolina is coming in very confident. They're 21-3. Look, Scott, they've already won in Thompson Bowling Arena. They're not going to be intimidated by Auburn, but Auburn. I still like Auburn in the game. because they're playing at home. But again, South Carolina is the real deal. I know we've already talked about their pre-conference wasn't very good,
right?
But they played so well and so consistently within the league that they're going to be there until the end. It looks like
that's what's keeping South Carolina. It's that early schedule. It's keeping South Carolina. South Carolina actually dropped one in the net rankings over the weekend.
Yeah.
They are 45 in the net rankings. That is below Texas Tech is sitting at 38. Despite the win over Tennessee, Texas A&M moved up one spot in the net rankings. They are now 37 in the net. By the way, Houston is number 1, Purdue, Arizona, UConn, and Alabama. Those are your top 5 in the net rankings, followed by Tennessee, Auburn, BYU, Iowa State, and North Carolina round out your top 10 as far as the net rankings go. Of course, the net rankings are heavily factored into who makes the NCAA tournament field, so that's why we use those and go over those. 7:45. One team that didn't get good net rankings was the Kentucky Wildcats.
Another missed opportunity. I mean, that's the first time since 1966, I believe, that they've lost 3 straight games at home in Rupp Arena. And they've in 3 straight games in Lexington. And they had chances in all of them, but once again, not being able to defend kind of reared its head. Gonzaga needed the game desperately too, because as we know, they don't have a great net ranking.
They had a 0 quad 1 win coming into that game. They needed that one in a big way.
Yeah, they did. And Jeff Shepard played well for Kentucky, especially that second half, but UK just couldn't get it done. I thought their interior defense wasn't good enough. They certainly need Wagner back. They need to get healthy. They need to get all their pieces back in place. If they can, I still think Kentucky can make an NCAA tournament run. But right now they're struggling. And this game coming up at home this week, with their next conference game against Ole Miss and Rupp, they've got to stop the bleeding, man. They've got to find a way to win in Rupp Arena and knock off an Ole Miss team that right now under Chris Beard in year 1 is a bubble team, Scott.
Right.
Because they're hanging around. Right now they are part of that separation from the bottom 5 in the SEC, but they're perilous. Mississippi State and Ole Miss are perilous right now. They both have chances to get in, no question about it, but you can play your way out as well.
Gonzaga now 1-5 in quad 1 wins this year. That was their first one in 6 tries.
And that's unusual for them because they play a tough schedule. They usually get some of these games.
They usually get 2 or 3.
That's why they're usually a 1 seed, but they just have not got them this year. They're definitely going to have to, win the regular season in the West Coast Conference, in my opinion, or finish second. And then it could come down to the fact that you got to win the West Coast Conference tournament if you're the Zags and get the automatic bid.
They're sitting 24th in the net rankings right now. Kentucky is 25th in the net rankings. All right, 7:47. Jay, I know you're holding, but let's get a break in. When we get back, we will get to you right out of the break. We got to get this break in real fast. It's Talking Ball live from Bill Penny Toyota.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got one accident on the board. This one's on West Point Road in Morgan County near Goodson Lane. It's a no injury, but it may have some blockage. Everything else looks good this morning. Traffic building in nicely. We do have some fog to deal with, though. If you got a long way to go, that one may cost you some time. You could lose up to 4 sizes in 4 weeks with a 2030 Fast Track program. Find out more at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Hello, Alabama sports fans. Did you know that it's illegal to place a sports bet on the big game in our state? Right now, you can place a legal wager in 38 states, including Tennessee, Florida, and Mississippi. But Alabama fans are missing out. Only you can help make a change. Call your legislator now and tell them you want the right to vote to allow sports betting in Alabama. Contact your legislator today by visiting sportsbettingalliance.org. Paid for by Sports Betting Alliance. sportsbettingalliance.org.
One of the best-kept golf secrets in the Tennessee Valley is Cherokee Ridge. Cherokee Ridge truly offers golf at a higher level with immaculate greens set against a spectacular Appalachian backdrop. This 18-hole championship course takes every advantage of rolling hills, whispering woods, lakes, and streams. Interested in becoming a member? Their membership plans feature affordable options for couples, families, and individuals. Book your tee time today. 256-841-4551. Cherokee Ridge. Championship quality, affordable prices.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Since 1986, Full Moon Barbecue has been cooking quality meats low and slow over a hickory wood-fired pit. From ribs and wings, brisket, turkey, catfish, and sausage to the best butts in town. If you're planning a holiday or a birthday party, Full Moon has a large banquet room. And Full Moon is ready for your next catering or tailgate. Just call us and we'll take care of everything. 256-713-0070. Full Moon Barbecue on the Parkway next to Costco. The best little pork house in Alabama.
And there you go. Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back. We're live from Bill Penny Toyota, sitting out here in the service department. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. They can service your vehicle. Just give them a call. And, hey, if your car is in here and you need to be serviced and you're here for a while, if you're here on a Monday, make sure you sit with us from 7 a.m. to 9. But if you want to leave after that, you can just go ahead and rent a Toyota. Rentability, reliability, versatility. It's rent a Toyota here from Bill Penny Toyota. Let's go out to the phone lines here to wrap up hour one. We got Jay with us this morning. Good morning, Jay.
Morning, guys. How are y'all this morning?
Good.
Well, Jay, we're glad you're not in the ditch, man.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm making a lot of people go in the ditch with Love Me Sexy and everything else.
Scott, you know Jeff's not going to let you live that down, right?
Well, Jeff actually is the next caller we're going to go to, so this will be interesting.
So Drew, this midweek break should help with this stretch of games Alabama's got coming up with A&M, Florida, and Kentucky, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's in a tough stretch right now. They got some big games coming up, there's no doubt, and A&M's going to be a dangerous one at home. Alabama's got 4 home games left, and that's what they need to take care of business and hold serve. And some of those are going to be tough because Tennessee is one of them, no doubt about it. Florida's another, and Florida's a dangerous team. Now they got Ernest T. Bass to wrap it up, and we won't know how that'll be. Hopefully that'll be a 40-point blowout, and hopefully they've given up by then. But still, I mean, we'll see. But they've got some tough games. They got to go to Kentucky. That's never easy. Kentucky will probably be healthier than they are now. And knowing that they've got to get rolling to get into the NCAA tournament and make a run because they're capable with that talent they have. So that's not going to be an easy game. They got to go to Florida. We just saw what they did to Auburn. So Florida's, I think, only lost 1 game at home all year. And then they got to go to Ole Miss. So Alabama's schedule is tough, no doubt about it. It's going to be tough to win the conference, but they've at least put themselves into the conversation and given themselves a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let y'all get to Jeff, but y'all have a great rest of the day, and Drew, I'll see you tonight, buddy.
All right, man, Jay, thank you.
All right, thanks. Let's go out. Let's stay out on the phone lines. Jeff from the Borough is with us. Good morning, Jeff.
How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Well, when you open a building in 1976, and it takes you 48 years to lose 3 in a row in that building. That's pretty damn
That's true.
Good. Yeah,
that is true.
Because that's true. Because it was not Rep Arena back in the '76.
It was Memorial, the house.
Yeah, Memorial Gymnasium. Yep, Memorial Gymnasium. That's right. Yeah.
It's only happened twice, and they played basketball since before 1930. It's only happened twice in program history. I wonder how many times it happened the rest of these teams in the league. How many times they've lost 3 in a row? Wonder how that works.
Nobody cares. Everybody likes.
We've
got enough haters out there, like our former players say. It's not what's on the back of our jersey; it's what's on the front. That's why they hate.
I found it interesting that we don't have the SEC Big 12 Challenge, but yet Kentucky still played a non-conference game in the middle of conference season.
Why did y'all play Gonzaga in the middle of the year?
That was something they I think it was during the floods or something. They helped us out, and it was something that I think it's a two game contract. I think that they signed during that time.
So you guys are going to over there next year, right?
No, we've already played them all. We played them in neutral court last year.
Okay.
Played neutral court last year. We've already played, but like the Michigan series, that series should have already been completed, but COVID kept them from doing that. So we still got to play them. We played them once in London and once in Ann Arbor. I think they got to come to Lexington. I think it's next year. I can't remember, or 2 years now. I don't remember what it is, but and everything. But and Florida lost one game at home this year to Kentucky, and the game they shouldn't have won, but they won. So
that's one of Kentucky's best wins, no question.
But they won. So like I said, we're hated for that. But I did want to congratulate Mike Edwards and Darren Kennard for winning their second Super Bowl ring last night. Edwards won one with the Bucks 3 years ago. Now he's got one with the Chiefs. He's with the Chiefs now. He won last night. He played in the Super Bowl. He was number 21 for the Chiefs, and he played last night. That win, probably one of the better Super Bowls. Probably I'd say top 5 or at least top 8, top 10 Super Bowls in a while. It was a really good ball game. It shows you how great Mahomes is, and shows you gotta get up on your PATs because that's what sealed the game. When they blocked that PAT, they opened the door for Kansas City, and they gave them the chance. And we did have a Murfreesboro player playing it last night, Jawan Kenney.
He played great, man. He might have been MVP if they'd have won.
Well, yeah, maybe. But he went to Blackman High School, played quarterback on the football team, and played on the men's boys basketball team, won the state about 10 years ago. And in that tournament, he was the MVP of the state basketball tournament. On that tournament. But now everybody hates Kentucky. They want to see us lose. So we got Ole Miss to wins, and we got Auburn Saturday. And Scott, what happened to Iowa girls Saturday?
Yeah, they got tripped up in Nebraska.
A long line to get in that game.
Wow, Caitlin Clark had no points in the fourth quarter. She got shut down in the fourth. Yeah, she had a great game, 31 points, but had 0 in the fourth. So,
did Caitlin Clark get out of Nebraska alive? I didn't hear anything about her getting hit or anything. Did Lisa Blunder kill some Nebraska people after they stormed the court? I don't know. Maybe you can let us know about that. Hang in there, guys.
They didn't have a great fourth quarter. Their credit Nebraska. They did exactly what they needed to do. Now the only problem was Nebraska. Normally in post-game press conferences, the losing team goes first, and then your home team goes second. Usually, that's how it goes. Nebraska made Iowa wait in the locker room an extra 25 minutes after the game because they did the press conference first. And then they made Iowa go after that. And usually the road team, and if you lose like that,
let them get on the road.
Let them get on the road and get out of there.
Yeah,
that was what Iowa was unhappy about after the game on that.
I've covered enough games. That's usually how they always do it.
Yeah,
they let the visiting team go first.
Yep.
And then
you get out the door, you get out there, and you're done. Yeah, they made Iowa sit there and wait almost 25 minutes after the fact that they lost on the road.
Right.
I mean, everything else. But anyway, we've got to get a break in because when we come back, we will continue the conversation. Alabama got a win on the hardwood. Hey, they also got some softball wins as well. Believe it or not, softball is underway, college softball underway. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the fact that Ryan Grubb is gone. What does it all mean? Travis Ryer coming up next.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Free air-chilled boneless chicken breasts and 4 juicy boneless pork chops with your order. omahasteaks.com/VSiN. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
The Kansas City Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They're the first team to do so since the Patriots did it 20 years ago. 25-22, the final in overtime against San Francisco. Just the second overtime game in Super Bowl history. Patrick Mahomes connected with Mecole Hardman with 3 seconds left in overtime to win it. San Francisco led the game 10-3 at the half before Kansas City put up 10 points in the third. The Niners regained the lead on a 53-yard field goal from Jake Moody with 1:53 left, but Harrison Butker tied it on a 29-yard field goal with 3 seconds left in regulation. San Francisco was a 2-point favorite heading into the game. The Chiefs paid plus 110 on the money line. The over at 47. Get the latest lines and more at vsin.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
There it is, hour 2 officially underway here on Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, and we are holding court this morning inside Bill Penny Toyota Service Department. Their doors are open for you Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. They can take care of all your vehicle's needs. I mean, seriously, they've got everything here, and if you don't want to spend a lot of time here, if you need to hop and about, journey around town, just do it. You can rent a Toyota. They got hourly rentals available. They got long-term rentals available. They got everything here. Just bring your car out here and let them service. Doesn't have to be a Toyota. You can just bring anything. Any old jalopy will work. Alabama got a win. We talked about it over LSU on the road. Softball is ongoing, and wow. What a catch out there. I believe it was on Saturday night there against Georgia Tech. I believe that was the game against
all
Georgia
three
Tech.
of the new outfielders. I mean, Alabama's got quite a young outfield out there with a lot of good, they've got the Johnson sisters, and then they've also got Larissa Pruitt from Hartselle. But we're going to talk football because, again, there's been a lot going on, and our next guest joins us on a weekly basis. He's the longtime senior analyst since 2003 for BamaOnline.com. He, of course, is a huge part of their YouTube channel, and they're going to have a lot to discuss today because the Alabama coaching staff is not complete. A lot of people thought it was after signing day this past week, but the NFL came calling, and right now with with what's going on in college football with NIL and the transfer portal, a lot of coaches looking to get to the NFL, and 2 from Alabama have now left to go to the Seattle Seahawks. Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator, and of course Scott Huff, Scott Huff, the offensive line coach. Both of them will not have to leave Seattle. They're going to work for the Seahawks, and really I can't blame them for the quality of life and for their families, and we're going to talk about that and more with our next guest, Travis Reier. Travis, I hope you had a great weekend, man. How are you?
It was a good one. I hope you guys did as well.
Well, Travis, let's get right to it. Alabama, that report with Ryan Grubb came out over a week ago that he was a person of interest with the Seahawks. Obviously, they interviewed a lot of different people. He ends up taking the job. Shortly thereafter, it leaks that Scott Huff is going to end up going with him. It was finalized during the Super Bowl last night that Huff will be their offensive line coach. So some shuffling going on with Alabama right now.
Yes, there is. It's kind of funny in a way because, there was so much concern about the defensive side of the ball upon DeBoer's hiring that, where are they going to turn to the coordinator levels? How's that going to shake out? And I think when it was all said and done, Alabama fans felt pretty good about the path that he took in putting together that defensive staff. And now a couple of the key cogs, obviously, that he brought with him or appeared to be bringing with him from Washington, and Scott Huff and Ryan Grubb, going to stay back in the Pacific Northwest with the Seattle Seahawks. So now the question shifts to the offensive side, and I think understandably so. There's some anxiety there among the Alabama fan base, but I think if you trust Greg Byrne, first and foremost, in terms of the guy he hired as the head coach, you're just going to have to trust that Kalen DeBoer, who obviously his background is on the offensive side of the ball, hands all over this offense that we've seen in recent years at Fresno State and the University of Washington, that it's going to be okay in the end. There's no doubt that Ryan Grubb is a rising star in the coaching ranks. There's a reason why he attracted strong interest from Nick Saban a year ago. So Alabama 0 for 2 on Ryan Grubb, both with Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer. But as you sort of outlined, and I've said for a while now, if you've got the opportunity in today's coaching climate to work at the NFL level, that's something most of these guys are going to do.
We were talking during the break, for years, Nick Saban would always have a new defensive coordinator, but the defense was Nick Saban's defense. You came in and kind of fit your scheme around what Nick Saban wanted done on the defensive side. Is that the same thing with Kalen DeBoer, do you think, Travis, that this is his offense, his vision, his thing? Whoever comes in to be the offensive coordinator, whether it be Ryan Grubb just has a better understanding of what Kalen DeBoer wants, but this is still going to be Kalen DeBoer's offense.
I think even more so than was the case even with Nick Saban, perhaps, because Nick's roots, his DNA was more so on the defensive side. This is absolutely Kalen DeBoer's offense. Now, that partnership, for sure, with Ryan Grubb has been outstanding. It's documented the success the two have had together, and they go back a long, long time. But I think as much as anything, if you're an Alabama fan right now, you're wondering who's going to coach your quarterbacks, because I think the offense is going to be the offense. But, that individual that can continue to develop Jalen Milroe, the rest of those quarterbacks, and then the offensive line spot, very critical, obviously. So maybe even more so positionally than in terms of concepts and scheme and, ideas and those type of things, play calling. It starts really at the positional level and how Alabama goes about dealing with that.
And then, Travis, it makes me wonder, when Jay Nunez was announced that he was leaving Oklahoma for Alabama, most assumed it was for an off-the-field job, but I think maybe, and I think I know after Greg Byrne went public and said, look, we've got a plan, Kalen DeBoer has a plan, they knew something was going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Nunez takes that tight ends job, and then we saw Adam Rittenberg, who has been spot on so far from ESPN. He's out of the Midwest. He, of course, lives in Chicago, but he's dialed in, and he said, Scott. He was the first one that said Scott Huff was leaving, and that and Ryan Grubb was headed to Seattle as well. And he talked about kind of the reshuffling that Jamarcus Shepard, and then and Nick Sheridan would be potentially moving up as co-OCs, and potentially Sheridan can move over to that quarterback spot.
Yeah, I mean, that would make some sense. And Nunez has background with special teams too, so
yep, he does.
You could look to that area as well. You kind of look at where special teams coordinators come from in terms of positional areas, and a lot of times it's tight ends or maybe it's outside linebackers. On defense, we've seen that in the past, so that would make sense from that perspective. And that is absolutely what you expected to hear from Greg Byrne, that with the ascent of guys like Ryan Grubb through the coaching ranks and what his name sort of resonates like with NFL clubs, this wasn't a surprise, even as a head coach candidate at the Power 5 level. So you have to just, again, the word is trust, that this was anticipated in a lot of ways, and it'll be dealt with relative to that. And I think the interesting thing too, you probably feel okay if Sheridan moves into that quarterback's role, but the play calling perspective, does Kalen take on more of that maybe initially? I think ideally you would like one of these guys just to step forward and be ready to go, and maybe Kalen feels that way. about a Sheridan or one of these guys. But I'm going to guess that Kalen DeBoer, even with Ryan Grubb, was involved pretty heavily, at least in terms of preparation on a week-to-week basis for the offense, and having everything go through him from even a play-calling perspective on game day. I think that helps in this transition too.
And the thing, too, is it's minute, it's small, but in today's college football world, it's something we have to pay attention to. All of this happened after the transfer portal window closed for Alabama. The 30-day window closed, and then the announcements come out that the coaches are leaving.
Yeah, I know there's a sentiment out there with Ryan Grubb that, a few days earlier he had made some statements and he was going to be Alabama's offensive coordinator. Look, in today's business, it is literally day to day. A few days earlier, that probably was his role and his job. And then things changed officially, the days that followed or the time that followed. And these folks are going to make those moves that are best for them right now. Everybody, it's kind of this sort of chain reaction. Everybody, it seems like, from the group of five, in terms of coaches and support staff, they're all trying to get to the Power Five. And specifically, they're trying to get to the SEC or the Big Ten. That's even within that metric of what's left of the Power Fives, with the Pac-12 phasing out. Even with the ACC and Big 12 still around, a lot of these G5s and so forth are trying to get to those two leagues, and then you got folks in those two leagues or the four leagues trying to get to the NFL. So, kind of has that feel right now.
Yeah, it really does. And so I know you guys at BOL have been all over it. I would think, there's probably about 3 weeks till spring practice, Travis. So they're going to have to get these pieces in place. I would think in the next couple of days the picture would become clearer.
I would think so. Again, understanding and believing that DeBoer knew that this was a very possible scenario.
Yeah.
He wasn't blindsided by this by any means. So you got to think the scenarios that he's already worked through would allow for an expeditious sort of process here. But he also, I'm sure, is trying to make sure he's got the absolute best fits, because it's not just one area, again, that he's looking to sort of fill for. It's not just a play caller or an offensive coordinator. It's a quarterback's coach. It's an offensive line coach. If you shuffle within your staff, now you're looking at maybe tight ends and special teams, as we kind of outlined there. So there's more than just one aspect to this thing.
Yeah, there really is. And and to be honest with you, though, I know there's some angst with the Alabama fan base, but you should also it should be a positive sign that the NFL wants your coaches, and that DeBoer put together a staff with two offensive guys that have been with him in Huff and Grubb that the NFL was wanted to hire.
Yeah, I think it also tells you that if you're an Alabama fan, if you really want to worry about something, you might worry about Kalen DeBoer with the NFL at some point down the road, right?
Right.
If you're hiring the right head coach. This is a different hire than Nick Saban was in 2007. Nick had already been down that street. Nick was at a point in his upper 50s, late 50s, that it was a legacy-defining time for him in his profession. So Alabama caught Nick Saban exactly the right time. But if Kalen DeBoer does what Alabama fans hope he's going to do, similar to Nick Saban during those first 5 to 7 years, I'd say, at UA, it's probably going to be an annual conversation about him, perhaps, in the National Football League.
Basketball-wise, Alabama looking good on the road at LSU. The 7th 100-point game this season, a school record.
Pretty amazing. 109 points in back-to-back games against LSU, and for whatever reason, they seem to shoot it pretty well at the PMAC from beyond the three-point arc. And, boy, the guards were tremendous. Great to see Aaron Estrada playing with a lot of confidence and assertiveness. Latrell Wrightsell with a double-double. Mark Sears pretty much going to give you what he's giving you night in and night out. Ryland Griffin playing at a nice level. So those 4 guards are a staple of this team right now. But then to get good stuff from Nick Pringle like you did, I don't know if you can count on that game in and game out, but Nick with 17 points in 14 or 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Nate would love to see more of that on a nightly basis. So very impressive, but there's no doubt just a grueling closing stretch to SEC play. Kind of a good thing, I think, for this team to have a little bit of a break, although maybe you would like this more so in the middle of what's coming up. But, boy, 7 straight games to close out SEC play, and none of them are going to be easy.
No, they're not. And then Patrick Murphy, it's the first time we haven't seen Montana Fouts in 5 years in the circle. Caleb Beaver transferring from Central Arkansas. She's a new piece. He's got a freshman arm that pitched in the game 3, but some tremendous outfield defense, some timely hitting from some newcomers, a 5-0 start for Coach Murphy.
Yeah, great weekend in Atlanta. A couple wins over Georgia Tech. You kind of expect Alabama to take care of the likes of Longwood and Villanova, and they did just that. But still early, but exactly what you wanted to see from Kayla Beaver, as you anticipated her being your top option in the circle post Montana Fouts. I think she pitched 2 complete games, gave up 1 earned run, just 3 walks, struck out 21 batters. So that's the type of start you wanted to see from her. And you're right, defense, just 1 error in 5 games in Atlanta. So that was very impressive. And then mixing in some of those newcomers that you talked about, and what a catch by Larissa Pruitt in the 5th game to start that triple play out there in right field. And a promising start. A lot more to still learn about this team. Kinley Cahalan, Jenna Johnson, Bailey Dowling. You kind of know what you've got in those 3 or 4 players, but with the injection of some new talent and how they continue to evolve at catcher too. You talk about big shoes to fill behind the plate. That's a part of it. We've seen a couple of different catchers in those first 5 games. So still some things to sort out, but I'm sure Murph will take a 5-0 start to get it going.
Hard to believe that they've already played 5 games. I mean, when softball gets rolling, it does not mess around one bit, and now they get to host the Bama Bash coming up this weekend. St. Thomas, Virginia, Southern Indiana, all in town.
Yeah, a little bit more of some ACC competition coming up this weekend, and another opportunity for Murph to get a look at more players, because I think they are still in the identification stages of coming up with some key replacements to last year's team, and but it does start in the circle in softball. There's no doubt about that. So with Kayla Beaver stepping in there, and then still trying to see what you got. With Torrance and the freshman Brisky also, you need more than one. So even if Beaver is your number 1, still need to feel good about that number 2.
And no question. Well, Travis, good stuff. We know coming up this morning, y'all are going to have a lot to talk about on the BamaOnline.com YouTube channel because there's a lot of things to discuss, especially football-wise, coming up. Let everybody know how to connect with you.
Yeah, BamaOnline.com. Come to the Roundtable, our premium message board, and hang out with us. You got Tim Watts, you got Andrew Bone, you've got Joseph Hastings, Charlie Potter, Jimmy Stein, Clint Lamb. We're all there. It's a fun place to hang out. It's an informative place to hang out, and we will be on the YouTube channel coming up around 9:30 Central this morning with Tim Watts and Jimmy Stein talking specifically about the offense and where things may be headed from a staff perspective, and also we'll look specifically at the running back position and what the Crimson Tide will have to work with, or what we anticipate Alabama having to work with there in 2024.
All right, Travis, we appreciate it, man. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, college football carousel continues. Who's in, who's out, who's not, we'll fill you in there. Plus your phone calls, 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
They should be about clear on that wreck on West Point Road near Goodson Lane. That one in Morgan County reported as a no injury. And we had an overturned stolen vehicle in the 3000 block of Ivy. That's near Triana. The driver fled from the scene there. Apparently, though, an HPD canine captured him. He's been transported to the hospital now. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Eck in the Jordan Lane, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list, and maybe a little scary, but it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188, and you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Each week, check out our latest zone deal online at 977ESPN.com.
I'm eating good food.
We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Okay, there you are. Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. The conversation has been exciting this morning, at least. We'll say that. We are live from Bill Penny Toyota, sitting out here on a Monday. Don't forget, they can and want to take care of your vehicles. They've got the best service technicians. They've got the collision technicians. They've got the collision painters. They've got all kinds of stuff that they can do at their collision center, which is just up the street. Yeah, and then here they have the Bill Penny Toyota service department, so they can service your vehicles. Need that collision center here in a little bit. Are you actually going to get the boo-boo taken care of?
I need to.
It's been a little bit.
It has.
So we talked shortly after our show on Friday. Boy, this just was like a wildfire. It just took off and burned fast. Chip Kelly made no secret that he wanted to leave UCLA. I mean, he applied for every offensive coordinator's job out there this past off season. And I mean, he wanted the Raiders job, he wanted the Redskins job. I mean, he wanted other couple college football opportunities and didn't get them. Well, all of a sudden, and we told you a week and a half ago, when Jeff Heffley left Boston College to go to the NFL, that Bill O'Brien's name would be prominent in that coaching search because of his ties to the East Coast, to the Pennsylvania area. Out in that area, being the Penn State head coach, and you want to talk about a tough job. That was the toughest job, I think, ever to take over, was the Penn State job. But Bill O'Brien, who just became the Ohio State offensive coordinator, was only there for a few weeks. Bolts goes to Boston College. That leaves an opening. Chip Kelly takes the Ohio State offensive coordinator position, which creates an opening at Ohio State, which creates an opening at UCLA, my bad. There you go. What a domino effect in 24 hours.
Well, I mean, look, Chip Kelly was almost let go at UCLA.
Yeah.
He doesn't think they're totally committed, nor do I, to football in the NIL world or to facilities. I don't think they've ever really been committed. He was making around $6 or $7 million a year, whatever the hell he was making.
It would have cost them $8.5 million to buy him out.
Yeah.
Being fired. Ohio State is going to pay UCLA $1.5 million because that is what they're going to pay him to get him to come over to Ohio State.
And so he just didn't want to deal with the fundraising and the lack of commitment in his mind that UCLA had. Because if UCLA were committed, I don't think he would have left. Plus, again, like you said, he was nearly fired.
Yep.
So he was like, I'm out of here. I think ideally he wanted to go back to the NFL. Didn't happen, as you said, Seahawks, Commanders, those kind of things he was involved in, Raiders.
Yep.
So, I mean, he had a chance to throw his name in the hat, and then the opportunity opened up with B.O.B. going to Boston College because of Jeff Hatley moving on to the Packers. And so, it's just about opportunity. And then you got to understand, too, the relationship. When Chip Kelly was at New Hampshire, he coached Ryan Day, so they had a previous relationship. So it's crazy. And don't forget, UCLA is going from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. And so there's going to be a huge transition there. It's going to be really fascinating to see who takes that Bruins job. The funny thing is, there was a huge stink raised because supposedly Jed Fish interviewed for said UCLA job, and he's barely signed a contract with Washington. So, that's what's so crazy. And now, I would rather have the Washington job.
I would too.
Okay, I think there's less headaches. It's a better job right now, but you never know. It's still in California. It's still, quote unquote, UCLA, who has historically been better than Washington. But hey, man, it is what it is. It's a crazy time right now with a lot going on, and it's going to be really interesting to see. I've heard PJ Fleck's name mentioned with UCLA.
He came out and said, hey, look, I'm happy here at Minnesota. Right. I just didn't I don't know. PJ Fleck has taken his name out of there. So,
yeah, so we'll see. I mean, no doubt about it. But the UCLA job is a tough one because you share the same city with USC. And again, there's been, I just say this. I think there's always been, at least in the last 25, 30 years, issues with their commitment level. And, of course, it's considered, quote, unquote, a basketball school. And so it makes it tougher to make a big-time hire in football.
All right, 256-576-4977. If you want to join the program this morning, feel free to do so. We got short time left here to get your phone calls in. Beginning of the show, we threw out a poll, and it was just an interesting one, just to gauge some people's interest. And it said, which game did you pay attention to the most this year? The College Football National Championship, Super Bowl 58, or equally the same? Just threw three choices out there. And right now, 40% have said they paid more attention to the College Football National Championship game than the Super Bowl. 32% said the Super Bowl, and 28% have said equally the same. So that is our poll update for you this morning.
Yeah, and it's not surprising. I mean, it's a college football, area for us here in the state of Alabama. And, again, I think a lot of people watch the Super Bowl, but, they're going to pay closer attention to college football than they are the National Football League, no doubt about it.
All right, 256-576-4977. Give you a couple seconds here if you want to get in. One of the things I did want to get to was over the weekend. Well, we played it on. We let you know last week, Wednesday or Thursday. Coach Nick Saban played in the Pro-Am event for the Waste Management Championship down there in Phoenix, and it was. It was fun. If you've watched highlights from the Waste Management, you saw on Saturday they had so many people there at the golf course, they had to close the gates and they had to shut off beer sales. Oh boy, there was some drunk ass people. I mean, they were by. It had rained, and so big guys. And when I say big guys, I mean guys that probably should not have taken off their shirts. Were doing mudslides, and it was crazy. Anyway, comedian Michael Turner got he was on the course for the Pro-Am and managed to catch up with Nick Saban. And Michael Turner had about a 30-second fun conversation with Nick Saban. Here, take a listen to the exchange.
I was wondering, do you think if you had another year to prove yourself at Alabama, you'd have had more job opportunities this offseason?
Yeah, well, it was a really tough decision, really for the coaches, the players. But my family thought it was the right time, so we're excited about having the opportunity to start our next phase of our life and do things like this and have some fun.
And do what you've wanted to do, which is, I think, focus on Arizona State and kind of rebuilding our program here. Why you've been dodging the program?
Yeah.
You were scared of the Pac-12. Now it's Big 12. You can handle it.
If I was going to coach, I'd stay at Alabama forever. So.
There you go. Well, appreciate you. You're a legend.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Good to meet you.
That was comedian Michael Turner.
Of course.
Just having some fun with the coach.
Let's go to Arizona State, where the coach does the worm. Kenny Dillingham. I mean, maybe they'll get it going there.
I don't know. It was just fun, though. Michael Turner having some fun with Nick Saban there on the golf course. Let's get. I told you. I mean, some of that stuff is fun. I mean, he was just keeping it. Right. Coach was a good sport. He's having a lot of fun. He got to tee it up on the 16th hole there at the Waste Management Open. That is the famous hole there where the stadium course is. They had one hole in one this weekend, and they showered the green with. They showered it with beer cups and beer cans and everything.
We got people texting in saying that UCLA should hire Dirt Neck. He'd fit right in with the fruits and nuts.
Well, he doesn't care about winning. They don't care about doing anything else like that. He just wants to get paid. He wouldn't even have to take a payday. He could just say, "Look, I'll coach for $1. I've got my money. I mean,
I already got my cash.
You don't want to invest anything in the program. You don't have to invest in anything in me, and we'll be happy."
Right.
Speaking of happy, Alabama fans are happy because Ryan Williams did put his name on the dotted line for that national letter of intent. Last week, he is headed to Alabama, and we will delve into just the impact of Ryan Williams going to Alabama. Let's check in with his coach, shall we? Jeff Kelly from Saraland coming up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. Scattered showers and a few thunderstorms will continue throughout this Monday. High temperatures expected to top out in the mid to upper 60s for the afternoon. We could also see gusty winds as high as 30 miles per hour. Heading into your Monday night, a few scattered showers still going to be possible. We'll sit under mostly cloudy sky. Low temperatures falling into the upper 30s. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We're still dealing with fog this morning, quite heavy in some areas. And we got a knee wreck on Drake near Penny. That one's coming in as a no injury. Had one on West Point Road near Goodson Lane in Morgan County that should be clearing. Do you know who to call when you need a heart doctor? You could write this name down now so you have it in the future. Dr. Randall Burns is at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace, where they have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-254-50 5040. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-254-5040 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-254-5040 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-254-5040.
AL cert number 21014.
Are you looking to keep that love of your life warm on this Valentine's Day without the high costs? Make sure you give Talent Heating and Air a call today. Thomas, you guys have the options to keep the love warm.
Yeah, that's right. We have one of our steamiest deals ever at $2,000 off.
That's a Valentine's Day special worth celebrating. How do they find this?
All they have to do is go to our website or give us a call. That website's talenthvac.com or 256-503-4490.
Chocolate, roses, and a heater. All courtesy of Talent Heating and Air. One more time.
talenthvac.com.
And you can give them a call today.
256-503-4490.
Love me sexy.
What's better than 2 End Zone sports bars? 3 End Zone sports bars. And we have you covered with our original location on University across from Red Lobster, in Jones Valley on Cecil Ashburn near Carl T. Jones, and our newest location in the Midtown District on McMurtry Drive opposite the Target Plaza. All locations feature the NFL Sunday Ticket, Tuesday half-price burgers, and Wednesday $1 jumbo wings all day long. You're never far from the End Zone. End Zone Sports Bar.
Oh, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond with you. And you know what? We talked a lot about National Signing Day in December and how big it was. And a lot of guys put their names on letters of intent. And that is where I would say 90% of recruiting classes were filled back in December. Now, last week in February, which was the original big National Signing Day, everybody put their names on national letters of intent in February. And yes, you still had early enrollees, but they were not able to sign until February. The thing for Alabama was they got a huge piece to the puzzle, albeit one guy. They got a couple, but one in-state guy signed his letter of intent last week, and it was a pretty big piece to the puzzle.
No, it's a huge piece. I think he's the best player in the state of Alabama since Julio Jones. That's what I've said. But our next guest is taking time out of his busy schedule. He's one of the best coaches, not just in the state of Alabama, but in the United States on the high school level. He's going into his 14th season as the head coach of the Saraland Spartans. I, of course, have been following his career since he was played for the late, great Ronnie Massey at Citronelle High School, and then went on to a great record-setting career at Southern Mississippi. He's risen throughout the coaching ranks and really taken this program at Saraland, which has only been around, Scott, since 2010. This is an amazing run for them. They've had 14 football seasons. The last 2 years, they've been 28-2. They won a 6A state title over Mountain Brook last season. This past year, fell a little short against Clay Chalkville, but still have one of the best programs in the country. And they've developed Ryan Williams, who is the first two-time winner of Mr. Football in our state. And Jeff Kelly has been kind enough, the head football coach, to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Coach Kelly, you're with Drew and Scott in Huntsville, Alabama. We truly appreciate your time this morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. I appreciate you guys having me on this morning.
Yes,
morning,
sir.
Coach.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it. And I know it's been great to be a Saraland Spartan the last 2 years. I guess the only drawback, you didn't win back-to-back state championships. It's very difficult to do, but your program has grown by leaps and bounds, and along with that program has been the development of a kid like Ryan Williams, who, Coach, I know I started hearing about him the middle of last year as just a 15-year-old sophomore, and when I saw film of him, I mean, I have to admit, I had to do double and triple takes, but you guys have known about him growing up in your community and coming up through youth football, but what a career he had for Saraland.
Without a doubt, to see him kind of come through the ranks and come through elementary school, middle school, and just kind of go through his 3 years with us in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade and really leave his mark on our program in many ways. Not only the special things that you show on the field, which, I've been around a long time and coached against Julio, coached against a lot of really good players. I don't know that, there's been very few people that's been able to change the game, each and every Friday night like he has been able to do. But, that's the easy part when you go to really kind of figure out who Ryan is. And as you get to know him, as people get to know him, they will understand, just how awesome a young man he is. He was, a great leader for our locker room and our guys. And just a great example. The teachers at school, think the world of him. He does things the right way. And I think, going through the reclassification process, how he did that speaks volumes about who he is, because, I've known that he was going to do this since about last summer.
Yeah.
But he really he didn't want it to come out. He didn't want it to be a distraction. He wanted this year to be, all about the team and all about, trying to go win a state championship with his classmates. And, he's intensely competitive, very talented, and one of the most humble guys. But he's comfortable in his skin. He knows who he is. And we're going to miss him, but we're going to look forward to following him and supporting him throughout, whatever the future holds.
You mentioned reclassification, and reclassification is hard to do. It's not for everybody because, you got the classwork you have to get done. It takes someone that is kind of mature a couple years ahead of what they're supposed to be to pull off a reclassification lots of times.
Without a doubt, Ryan was even – it goes all the way back to the 8th grade. That was not necessarily his plan, but, he was getting credits in the 8th grade that counted towards, his graduation. Our school provides a pathway and opportunity for, not just student athletes, but anybody if they want to kind of work ahead and get through the process sooner. It gives them a path of doing that. But, he's been a great student. Does the things that he needed to do in the classroom to give him a chance to do that. And, I think about this time last year, he had it, in his mind, and it was a family decision for him that it felt like that this was time. And, a lot of people have asked me my opinion about it, kind of the direction of high school sports and what comes next. And, as it relates to Ryan's situation, we're very close to him. If he were my son, I would have probably advised him to do the same thing. Everybody's situation is different, but, I just feel like, where he's at right now in his development, this is a challenge that, number one, he's ready for. And the second thing is I think he's going to go up there and have a chance to compete right away.
No question. Alabama definitely could use someone with his skill set. And talk about that skill set. It's so unique, Coach. The numbers he's put up, are just video game, esque. And I've even, and this is from my era when I was growing up. I even brought up the name David Palmer because when I've watched him and I've watched the versatility that he has offensively and the elusiveness you just can't coach and the ability to make big plays. When you're talking about a young man who in the last 2 years who had nearly 3,000 receiving yards, 43 touchdowns, 159 catches, and then almost rushed for 1,000 yards, and not to mention the kickoff and punt return capability, this young man can make plays from almost anywhere on the field.
He's a complete player. He's been a quarterback his whole life.
Nice.
So I guess one of the things I'm going to tell everybody I hang my hat on is that I discovered Brian as a receiver. He was our 9th grade quarterback, and we were in desperate need we had one really good receiver that's now in West Virginia, Jarrell Williams, and we were looking for another option, somebody that could make a defense balance up and put him on the other side of the field, and we just didn't have that guy. And I was sitting in my office. I got a window that looks out over our indoor, and Ryan was throwing routes to Jarrell, Jarrell had got him to stay after practice to throw in some extra routes. And I guess they were screwing around out there. Well, they flipped it around, and Jarrell started throwing routes to Ryan. And I called Coach Boutwell, our wide receiver coach, in there, and we just watched him out the window. And I said, that's our other receiver. And, so that next day, and that was in August before his freshman year, we said, hey, we're going to throw you out there. You're going to learn the position. I think he just wanted to get on the field, but he had to accept that maybe that wide receiver thing wasn't a bad idea for him. And I think it's worked out pretty well for him. He had an okay freshman year. And, I told a lot of people going into his sophomore year that, hey, this Ryan Williams kid is about to set the state on fire. And I don't think anybody believed me, but, he absolutely did his sophomore year. And the other part of it, too, was kind of a perfect storm. He has a really good quarterback in KJ Lacey that, those guys have worked in tandem over the last couple of years. And Ryan be the first to tell you that it's been kind of a group effort, all the success that we've had. But, so all that being said, Ryan has been playing the position about 2.5 years. And so he's going to continue to grow and develop and learn the nuances of being really good. But I'd say he's off to a pretty good start so far.
So he makes that jump to Alabama, and there's sometimes you see guys that are college ready when they come in, and some need a little bit of development. Obviously he's got every skill in there, but how college ready is Ryan Williams when he steps on that campus?
It will be a huge jump. It will be for anybody. I would say, Ryan is just now turned 17. He went and competed in the Alabama-Mississippi game, and I was the offensive coordinator and he stepped on the field with a bunch of guys that were a couple years older than him, and he was immediately the best guy on the field. I think everybody knew it. He goes down to Orlando for the Under Armour game, with the best guys in the country, and remind yourself that he's a junior in that role, in age, and that kind of really a young junior. And, every report that I got from the coaches down there that he did the same thing down there at the Under Armour game. So, he's a guy that's got the skill set. Now, physically, he needs to continue to push himself and grow and get ready for the physical pounding that, that a 21, 22-year-old corner, from Georgia or Tennessee or Ole Miss or whoever, will bring. And I think that's the part that he'll adjust fairly quickly. But he's got the ability to start and stop. He's got the ability to separate. He's got the ability to make the contested catch. But he's really, really competitive, and he really loves to win. So I think he's going to, have some moments where he's got to adjust and get ready for that next level, but he's going to figure it out, I think, really quickly.
And we're talking to Jeff Kelly, head football coach of the Saraland Spartans. And, Coach, I remember talking to you many years ago and talking to Velas Jones as well, who was a great young man who was developed in your program and who's now in the National Football League and played at USC in Tennessee. He was an explosive athlete. You've developed Ryan Williams. As far as Ryan goes, it's amazing what he did as a 15-year-old, helping you win a state title, and then as a 16-year-old, nearly repeating, two-time Mr. Football. Now he's 17. As you've watched him develop physically, for our listeners, what is his height and weight now, and how big and how much weight do you see him putting on in a strength program like Alabama?
He's right now, probably as we speak, probably 6'1", 165, 170, somewhere in that range. Really explosive. With his movements in the weight room and that kind of stuff, I think he'll do fine. A lot of people comparing to Devontae Smith in terms of kind of his build. So he's not a big guy, but I think when you start looking at what you look like as a 16-year-old kid versus an 18, 19-year-old kid, I think the next 2 or 3 you're going to see him will end up being a 6'1", 180-pound guy that can run a sub and make plays, you know, when he's called upon to do it. So it's, you know, that's where he is right now. But, you know, he'll probably end up, you know, in that 6'1", 180 range and maintain, you know, kind of what he is and who he is from a speed standpoint.
And then, Coach, I know you've had a chance to interact now with Kalen DeBoer. They had to reestablish a relationship with Ryan in order to get him to sign with the University of Alabama. Kane Womack is a part of that staff who you know very well, who was doing a great job at South Alabama, now will be the defensive coordinator for Kalen DeBoer. But for our, you know, listeners up here, I know what has been your impressions of Coach DeBoer? And I know the offense he's put together at Washington throughout his career in college football was very attractive to Ryan and his family.
You know, without a doubt, you know, seeing Coach DeBoer and Coach Womack come through and recruit, you know, that although Coach Saban, nobody's going to argue with the impact that he's had on not only Alabama football, but, you know, really the game itself. I think Ryan's excited about the schematic, different ways that Coach DeBoer has used those receivers in the past, and, you know, I think that's an exciting standpoint to him. You know, I think with Coach Grubb, you know, heading out west, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, kind of who comes in that role. But I know that Coach DeBoer is going to have a big role in it, so it's been good to get to know those guys.
Mm-hmm. It really has. And, well, we have been following you know, from afar here on this other side of the state, but we've definitely congratulate you on what you've done with the Saraland program, becoming one of the best, not just in the state, but in the country. I know you've already got that 2024 slate ready to roll. You guys will open with Jackson High School. That'll be, and you play another very challenging schedule, and some more Saraland Spartans. 8 others, just besides Ryan Williams, signed the other day. So this program is definitely turning out prospects to the collegiate level and developing players. We congratulate you on your program, Coach, and we look forward to seeing Ryan Williams now apply his trade at the University of Alabama and step up to the college level. He had an unbelievable career for you guys and helped you win a state title, and we know that Saraland is going to continue to grow. We thank you and look forward to seeing Ryan Williams at the capstone, but appreciate your time this morning.
Hey, thank you guys for having us, and appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. All right, let's get that final break in. Your tomorrow's headlines will wrap us up next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
That fog is still pretty thick this morning. It's definitely going to cause you some problems, especially if you got a long way to go. And we got a wreck at Drake and Penny. That one's reporting as a no injury, so it should move out of the way quickly. A lot of folks in last-minute dash mode. You be careful as you make your way in this morning. You get 2 pieces of hand-breaded, juicy, tender signature chicken and a buttermilk biscuit for $4.99 at Popeyes. University in Jordan, 72 in Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Eck in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We are here, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. When I say we're here, we're at Bill Penny Toyota wrapping up the morning.
Yes.
So
along with Bob.
Oh, yeah. We got Bob Ross. Bob has painted, I think, about 3 pictures.
I think 5
since
or
we've
6.
been. Has it been that long? You know what, though? He is a great tree guy.
Oh, he is.
He can do a
landscaping,
tree.
brother.
Yes. He can do a tree like nobody I've ever seen. So, I mean, look at this. The one he's painting right now, he's making a forest.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Anyway, did you pay attention at all to the halftime show? Did you give a darn?
I was cooking chili dogs.
Wow.
Yeah, they were good.
They were good.
Even though, Scott, how do you give somebody a pack of buns and not cut one of them open?
Well, you can buy, if you buy the kind like Publix makes there at the bakery, they're already cut in the center, I think.
No, I bought these. They were supposed to be cut in the center.
And they weren't cut in the center?
One of them wasn't cut in the center.
So
it made me angry.
Okay, all right.
I tried to cut it myself, had no luck, so I just had to put it on top of the bread.
Did you go with the beans chili or beanless chili?
With hot dogs, I don't go with beans chili.
Okay. Did you load it up with onions and all that fun stuff?
I didn't have onions. I had cheese. I had hot sauce. I had honey.
Okay.
Even some honey in the chili there.
Really?
Yeah. I found it in the refrigerator. Decided what the hell. Let's try it. It's like, okay. It gave us some nice flavor.
Honey in the chili.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Okay, all right.
I put some Diablo sauce, so I paid for that later. But no, it was pretty good.
Surprised you didn't go with some Diablo sandwiches and a Dr.
I did Diablo
Pepper
sauce just because I thought of Buford. I was like, a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper and make it fast. I'm in a bleeping hurry. I was in a hurry trying to get all the
Did you care about the commercials at all?
I did.
I thought they were average, not great, not good, just there.
Arnold's commercial was decent.
Yeah, they were just there.
Flavor.
Anyway, we put a lot of flavor into the show. I didn't have chili dogs, but I had about everything else. We had smoked wings on the egg. Some pork belly. We had all kinds of good stuff. And there was only 2. My wife said, this is ridiculous. There's only 2 people here. Why do we have this much food?
Well, join us at Greenbrier tonight. I'm going to be speaking with Freddie Kirby. We're going to have a recruiting wrap. Come out and see us, everybody, and we appreciate you listening.
All right, we'll be back in studio tomorrow morning. It's a Tuesday edition of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. See ya.
These days, saving time is important, and saving money is even more so. That's where